In this video, I will break down how to create this really cool like paper rip collage transition in Final Cut Pro 10 using some really cool paper rip overlays that are digital. Now these digital overlays are from Brian Dalmata. So the good news is you're not going to need a printer or a scanner in order to create these really cool paper effects. Just go ahead and head over to briandalmata.com, download these really cool paper effects, and you can create some really clean transitions. This is an example of something you can create with these really cool paper overlays. So if I go ahead and play the video, as you can see, this is what I recreated. I'll go ahead and just kind of give you a basic idea of how to create a very similar effect and just kind of the tips and tricks and things you should be aware of when you're using these really cool paper overlays. Now once you download the paper overlays from the link down in the description below, you want to go ahead and save these paper overlays to your desktop, to your download, to your hard drive. You want to save it somewhere on your computer. Now these are not like presets or plugins. These are just overlays, so don't put them in any kind of folder, just simply place them on your desktop or your download folder. Now what you're going to do is you're going to click on Command I. So click on Command I to bring up the import window. And what you're going to do is you're going to locate where you have them saved. For example, I had them saved in my Samsung T7. If I open it up, editing assets, and then go over to Brian Dalmata, as you see Rips and Fold V2 in the Ultimate Texture Bundle, you're just going to locate where you have them saved. And let's say, for example, we want to select Black Rip 13. So all you're going to do is you're going to select on the overlay, or you can also hold down the Command key to select multiple of them. So if I hold down the Command key, I can select as many as I want. But let's just say we want to do Black Rip 13, select on the image, and all you're simply going to do is click on Import Selected. So they're just overlays. And as you can see, Black Rip 13. So just simply import them into your Final Cut Pro 10 project. So as you can see, this is what it looks like without any of the paper rip transitions. If we go ahead and play it, here is the first clip, here is the gap clip, and then here is the second clip. So that's what it looks like without any of the cool fancy transitions. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and import photos or import still frames to your actual Final Cut project. So this can be either you could take photos on the set of your music video or whatever type of video you're editing, or you can actually just export like still frames from your project. But in my opinion, I would encourage you to actually take photographs. So as you can see, I have a couple still frames from the videos. In total, I have 8 still frames. So these are just PNG images. What you're going to do is you're going to take one of the PNG images. Let's say we want to go ahead and let's select on this one. You're going to drag your image onto your timeline, and then you can trim it to however long you want. So in this case, we'll just trim it to this length. You can, of course, adjust that later on. But as you can see, you just want to import a still image or a photo into your project. Now what you want to do is you want to locate a paper rip overlay you want to use. So let's go ahead and just scroll down until we find the one that we want. As you can see, we'll select on Black Rip 13. So all you're going to do is you're going to take the paper rip overlay, you're going to place it on top of the photo. Then you're going to go ahead and just simply trim the overlays. So we're just going to go ahead and press on Option right bracket to just trim it. You want to trim the paper rip overlay to be the duration of the photo, and you want the to be on top of the photo. What you're going to do is you're going to select on this paper rip overlay. You're going to head over here to the blend mode option, click on blend mode, and you're going to change to stencil alpha. So select on stencil alpha. As you can see, there we go. Now let's go ahead and select on the paper rip overlay again. We're going to hold down the Option key, and we're going to go ahead and duplicate the paper rip overlay, and again make sure it lines up. Now on this top one, we're going to go to blend mode, and we're going to change it to screen. So scroll up, and you want to select on screen. And as you can see, there we go. So you have 2 paper rip overlays in a photo. The top paper rip overlay, again, you want the blend mode changed to screen. You want the bottom one blend mode change to stencil alpha, and then you want a photo below it. Now what you're going to do is you're going to select both paper rip overlays and the photo, and you're going to hold and you're going to press Option W to create a compound clip. So we're going to go ahead and just type in paper rip 1. So you're going to create a compound clip. You can either right click on create new compound clip, or again you can use the keyboard shortcut Option G. And all you want to do is just click on OK. And as you can see, there we go. Now you have created a compound clip. So basically what we want to do is now everything is compounded. So we can go ahead and select on the actual take the paper overlay and put it on top. And then as you can see, there we go. Now you can see the video below it. If we go ahead and select the paper overlay and basically remove the compound clip, you're not going to be able to see the video behind it. So that is really important. You want to make sure you create a compound clip, or else the background is just going to be black and you're not going to be able to see the video below it. So again, if you don't see the video below the paper overlay, you have to group them all together and create a compound clip. Now you can go ahead and open up the compound clip if you want, and you can select on the photo, just you only want to select on the photo, and then go ahead. As you can see, you can adjust the scale, you can adjust the position, you can adjust the rotation, and it doesn't matter what we do, because we changed the blend mode to stencil alpha. You see, no matter where I move it, it's always going to stay in that paper border. So as you see, you can go through and just select on the photo and then make all kinds of adjustments that you want. We can go ahead and go out, and as you can see now the photo is rotated in the paper rip overlay. We can also select on the paper rip overlay itself and go ahead and scale it down. We could take the rotation. As you can see, it's all because we create a compound clip. They're all compounded together. We can move all of them as one, as one like sole unit. So it's just really, really cool. You want to make sure you follow all those steps. Now what you want to do is you want to keep repeating those steps until you have as many paper rip overlays as you want. So as you can see, I just created 3 more paper rip overlays by just repeating the steps that I showed you before. So you can obviously create as many as you want. Now this is the fun part. Now this is where you line them all up and try to get really creative. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all these paper rip overlays and we're going to drag them over onto the gap clip. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the gap clip and we're going to go back 5 frames. So go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll place a marker. We're gonna go ahead and select on the first one. I'm just gonna place this on top of the first clip right here, and now we can go ahead and just adjust the scale, as big as we want. So let's do something like this. Let's adjust the X and Y. As you can see, it's really easy, really simple. It's just all up to personal preference. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start stacking them on top of each other. So what you wanna do is you wanna go forward 1, 2, 3, and let's place another marker, and let's figure out which one we wanna use next. So paper rip 2, let's place it on top of the clip, and then let's just adjust the position till we get it, and we increase the scale a little bit till we get the look that we want. And there we go, that looks a lot better. So you see, we're just stacking them on top of each other. Now we can go forward 1, 2, 3, place a marker, and then we'll go 1, 2, place another marker. We can select on paper rip 3 and then paper rip 4. In my opinion, I would say kind of like space them between 3 and 5 frames. I have found that looks the best. So let's go ahead and select on paper rip 3. If we can just keep it, we can scale it up a little bit and just move it over the X position, something like this. Look pretty cool. And then we'll go to paper rip 4, and actually we'll just leave it how it is. I think that should look pretty nice. If you want to take the position and move it a little bit more. So there we go. You just basically line them all up and kind of like overlap them, but kind of having them offset a little bit so they kind of like come on the screen instead of them all coming on at the same time. So if we go ahead and play the video, as you can see the paper rips kind of just come on. They kind of like stack on individually, and that looks really cool. So there we go. There's like the basic idea. You just want to kind of stack them on top of each other and offset them a little bit so they're coming on at different times, which just makes it look a lot cooler. Now a couple of things you can do to make this look even more interesting is adding flash transitions, or like keyframing the paper rip overlay. So for example, you can go ahead and select on this paper rip overlay. Let's go ahead and kind of remember where it is, so -80. Let's drag this all the way down until we can no longer like see it on the screen. So it's lagging a little bit, but we're just gonna kind of drag this off the screen a little bit. So take the Y and let's just move it. If it lags a little bit, just go ahead and you'll stop and reset it. There we go. Now we go ahead and press on the keyframe button. So press on this keyframe to add a keyframe. We're gonna go forward 1, 2, 3 frames or something like this, and now we're going to set this back to -80. So in a span of 3 frames, you're basically animating to come up on the screen. You can of course do whatever you want. That is just what I chose to do. Sometimes you could have like a stop motion effect, or you could actually keyframe it. So again, we'll just wait for Final Cut to render it out. I think this is a really cool effect. So as you can see, if we go back a couple frames and then we go ahead and go frame by frame, you can see the paper rip is just sliding onto the screen, and there you go. There's the next one. Again, you could offset to, if that looks too fast, you could of course easily adjust that. So if we go ahead and play the clip, as you can see, it just quickly like slides on, which I think looks really cool. Now that's a little bit too harsh for my take. I would actually might want to expand it to make it a little bit faster, but again, it's all personal preference. So let's go over here to make it look even better. Go to titles and adjustment layers, or titles and generators. We're going to apply motion blur, and we're going to take a moderate motion blur, and then we're just going to place it on top of the place where we keyframed, and let's just go ahead and just trim the motion blur. All that's going to do is it's going to add a little bit of blur to the animation. As you can see, adds a little bit of blur and makes it look a little bit better. So as you can see, if we go back and play it, you can see you have a little bit of blur. See, if I go frame by frame, you have a little bit of blur. I just think that looks a lot better. Another really cool thing you can do is you could add like a flash transition. So we go over here to adjustment layer, place an adjustment layer on top, and we're going to go with selecting the adjustment layer, Control D6, and then click return. We want the duration of the adjustment layer to be a total of 6 frames. Now we're going to select the adjustment layer, go forward 1, 2, 3, place a marker, 1, 2, 3, and that's basically how you want to set it up. Now we can go ahead and just take the adjustment layer and then just kind of put the flash transition right here, and this is where you can get very creative. We can go ahead and duplicate the the adjustment layer, so Control C, Command C to copy it, and then we'll do Command V to paste it again, and we want a camera flash to happen right here. So again, this is all personal preference, but you can go ahead and just mess with it. I wouldn't add camera flashes every single time because it might be a little too extreme. Obviously, it depends on if you like that look. That's just my personal opinion. We're gonna go over here to Effects panel, and now if you go ahead and head to the link down in my description, there will be a link to my website where you can download this really cool camera flash preset. I have a whole tutorial showing you how to install presets. So we go ahead and select the camera flash preset, apply it onto the adjustment layer, and then we'll apply it also onto this adjustment layer too. This is just going to save you a lot of time instead of you individually keyframing it. I already did it for you, which again is just a preset, so it'll save you a lot of time. Now we can go to the middle of the adjustment layer. We can go over here to the color section, and we can change the highlight to something like, let's do like 50, so see it's a little less intense. We can select on this one and do something like 34. It just depends on if you want to be really intense or not as intense. It just depends on what you want. So we go ahead and play the clip. As you can see, this is already going to look a lot better, so we go ahead and play it. You see now you have this really cool little bit of like scale position animation. As you can see, there we go. Already that looks a lot better. And again, you can take those tips and make it more extreme. You can make the animations happen faster, or you can have it slower. You can have the paper overlays stacked slower, so every like 6 frames they come on, every 2 frames. It's all up to you and what you like the best. And that's basically like the kind of the bare basic idea of how to create these. Now I want to go over a couple small things to just make your transition look a lot better. Now, a couple of things you can do to make your paper overlays look even cooler is you can add some really cool blurs onto the paper assets. So if we go ahead and let's say we want to apply a blur to like this clip right here, or this paper asset, what I found looks really cool, if you go to blur and you basically apply like a zoom blur. So apply the zoom blur onto the clip right here, and as you can see, that looks pretty cool. So we go to the effects panel, before and then after, and we can go ahead and select on the zoom. We can kind of adjust where we want it to happen, and let's maybe like turn this down a little bit to like 20 so it's not as intense. And you can of course adjust it to make it look even cooler, but I think it's really cool to add a little bit of blur to it. Kind of makes it stand out, then make it look a little bit more unique. So we go, another really cool effect that I found that looks really cool is a really cool prism blur effect. So we go to the effects panel and we go ahead and go to blur, and we apply the prism blur. This is basically like RGB. So as you can see, now you have these really cool like RGB effects. So you can go ahead and adjust it. So we can go ahead and simply adjust the settings. That looks pretty cool. We can adjust like the direction of it. Maybe you want to turn it down a little bit just so it's not super like over the top. But as you see, I feel like that looks a lot better. You could also add a drop shadow to give it a little bit of depth, but I found adding a zoom blur and a prism blur looks really cool. And you can of course, I wouldn't apply it onto all of them, but a couple of them here and there just to make it look a little bit different and stand out. Another thing you can do is add a little bit of movement to the entire animation. So let's go ahead and kind of figure out where we want the animation to stop. So let's say right here we want to transition into the second clip. Let's go ahead and apply on these. Like I'm holding down the command key to select on multiple clips, and let's just trim it with the option key. As you can see, there we go. That's basically where you want the animation to stop. We can select on a camera flash and obviously add that to here if we want to. In this case, we won't, but that just depends on what you want to do. Let's go ahead and play the clip. As you can see, it is really cool transition, and that transitions into the next clip. You can of course add like a flash transition. So if you want to drag these clips out a little bit longer, let's go ahead and just simply drag them out just to make the transition look a little bit nicer. Let's go ahead and simply drag them out. We're going to select on the camera flash, copy it, and then paste it, and then place it on top in the middle right here, so you kind of get a flash that transitions into clip number 2. So we'll wait for Final Cut to render a new this really cool like transition. So we go ahead and play right here. There we go. It's a really quick, really cool like paper rip collage transition. Now what you can do again to make this look even cooler is you can select on an adjustment layer, drag an adjustment layer, and you want to place it on top of the paper rip overlays. We can go ahead and just trim the adjustment layer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add like a scale animation. So we go ahead and select on the adjustment layer itself. We're going to head over here to scale, and we're going to place a keyframe on the scale. So go over here to scale, place keyframe on scale. Now we're going to go to the end of the adjustment layer, and let's increase this to something like 115. And you can also animate the rotation too. That's what I did in the intro of the video. As you can see, we basically just animated, because the adjustment layer right here, anything we do to this adjustment layer, anytime we put an adjustment layer on top of whatever clips we want, it's going to affect everything below it. So by adding the adjustment layer and adding these be animating the scale, we are animating the scale of everything below this adjustment layer. So if we go ahead and play the video, as you can see look, now it's like zooming in. So it's just really cool. You can also add like motion blur too to make the zoom a little bit better, but there you go. Just those small subtle little things can make the video stand out. The last thing I want to go over is how to add sound effects to your videos. So if we scroll down and find like a sound effect, so as you can see, here is the camera shutter sound effect. Let's go ahead and just place it over where we want the sound effect to happen. And you can of course duplicate it and apply it, or kind of like have it overlay every time there's a flash. It just depends on what you want to do. Now we can select on it right here. We can right click on assign audio roles, and let's just change it to effects. We want to change the color. Now we can go ahead and play it, and of course you could use your ears and you make sure everything doesn't sound too loud. Or a really cool trick that I found is you can go ahead and select on the sound effect. Let's open up this tab right here so you see the audio waveform. Select right here, select on it, and then go to this headphone icon. It's going to isolate only the audio of this clip. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Command L, and we're going to kind of like press on like the slash icon on the keyboard. I'm not sure the correct name for it. I'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. We're gonna go ahead and click like kind of like that slash icon, and as you can see, the sound effect is looping. So we've isolated only that sound of that sound effect, and we're looping it over and over again. And then as you can see right here, you can see if it's too loud or it's too quiet, and we can just simply select on it right here. Let's do like -10 decibels, and as you can see, now we lowered the sound effect, or the audio of the sound effect. So that's just a really cool tip to make sure your sound effect isn't too loud or too soft. You can isolate individual audio tracks and just keep looping them over and over again, and you can of course see to make sure it's not too loud or too soft. That's a really cool tip that I found, and hopefully that is helpful for you too. As you can see, here is the finished product. You have this really cool like paper rip collage transition, and there we go. Of course you can adjust small things or tweak small things, make the animation happen for a longer period of time, add more flashes, add more sound effects. It's all up to you, but in this video I just want to give you a very basic idea, a basic understanding of how people create these really cool transitions. Again, the link for these really cool paper overlays are going to be down in the description below, so definitely go ahead and check them out. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful and informative. Before you leave this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and also check out my really cool digital store, which will be down in the description below. I have a whole bunch of Final Cut Pro plugins, presets, and overlays, so if you enjoyed that kind of stuff, definitely go ahead and check it out. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace!